This episode brought to you by ReddX audiobook narrations. I promise I won't talk in the middle. Maybe. The audiobook game master that got annoyed every time a player tried to do something to progress the plot. Oh yes, I've talked about being railroaded before, but today we are truly on the tracks. And hopefully by the end of the story we'll be off the tracks and off somewhere in the woods. The TLDR, yeah, I don't want to spoil it too much, but basically, the Game Master recruits 4 unwilling participants with lies to read them in a sneaky way the world building that they wrote in a parody of a role-playing game with no actual agency and no hints as to where to go. It's a waking nightmare. Tension builds between the actors, acting more chaotic by the minute, until it culminates. But then the GM suddenly disappears at exactly the 23rd hour in a disturbing fashion, as if they magically transformed back into a pumpkin. Yeah, you'd be surprised how restless players can get when they're not given things to do. You don't want to feed me plot points? That's fine. We can sit here and PvP for 4 hours. For a little bit of context, ROP User Dandy Reddit is part of a tabletop RPG club of a geeky company with about 40 to 50 people, I guess, all in their 20s or 30s, in which members can organize tables, campaigns, one-shots, etc., and the systems are plenty. Hey, y'all checked out Blood and Thunder, Weirdos and Waifus, Cyberpunk, current year plus 1,000? Pick it up at ramtide.itch.io for pay whatever you want. Thanks so much. Anyways, as you might guess, D&D is one of the games that is played in this club, but surprisingly it is part of the minority. I guess Wizards sort of shot themselves in the foot when it came to that. They get rid of the open gaming license and the whole world's like, guess what? There's many other tabletops aside from D&D, and you love to see that, honestly. Not for this video, I guess, but why not? It's in here now. So yeah. They play Powered by the Apocalypse and Forged in the Dark and Vampire the Masquerade. There's also Pathfinder, COC, which is probably Call of Cthulhu. Unfortunately, my first thought was Clash of Clans because I'm poisoned. There's Delta Green, there's one-page RPGs, etc. It is very varied. Very, very varied. In that context, a member, regular player from some other tables, was recruiting up to 4 people for a medieval fantasy one-shot, which is basically just one session for the uninitiated. In the recruitment announcement, they were giving out some details. Only one session, there's already one player recruited, their forever DM from a D&D campaign as a player, nice person with quite good communication skills. They're currently searching for 2 to 3 more players. It is a homebrew medieval fantasy setting, but a tame one. We play as merchants in a besieged city in a human kingdom. New GM, a little bit nervous. System is a bare bones homebrew system with nothing too exotic. It is very roleplay driven. Honestly, they might have got me with this one too. It sounds like exactly what I would like to play, if only you can throw in like low magic. But nobody ever plays low magic because it's not glamorous. We all want to pretend to shoot fireballs, right? Nah, bro, give me a sword and board, I'm good. So we were +3 club members to answer this message, myself and 2 other people that I occasionally play with, both grown adults with good mindsets. Their other player that was mentioned confirmed their participation, and we all scheduled a day to sit down and play together. So we joined the table online via Discord at 20 hours, which I guess is 8 o'clock. We say hello. The GM starts by saying that we'll need to stop by 11. All right, fine. All good with that. It gives us a solid 3 hours of time for apparently a small one-shot. So yeah, that's completely fine after all. Game Master then starts to pitch us the world and the major events that happened in the last couple of centuries, showing us a whole continent world map made on Incarnate and everything. Okay, so he's invested, he's passionate. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's a new GM, there's a learning curve. It's just unfortunate that he gave everybody all heat and no meat. You know, I'm trying to feast. After almost 10 minutes spent on this backstorying, I interrupt politely, asking which type of game system we'll use because I'd like to know about that first. Them being a new GM, I expected that pacing wouldn't be mastered at this stage quite yet. I tried to help a little bit without being too forceful. GM just waves the question away awkwardly, saying, there's no system at all. This will all be GM education from start to finish. I insist to at least understand which type of game activities will be done during the session, not wanting things like tactical combat done with no rolls, and they confirm that there won't be any, and no rolls either. No HP, nothing, just entirely roleplay. Well, GM probably could have specified that in the post. I want to play with my math rocks, damn it. I'm up and out. Thank you. This is what I thought it wasn't. I have to go now. It was a first oddity. Straying from the premise of a bare-bones system, I was expecting at minimum like a resolution system. Now interrupted in their lore exposition, GM explains that we play as merchants from the common. Points to the map at a little city and says that everything will happen there. Why do we need the backstory for all this stuff? It's just gonna take up space in my brain, dude. But nonetheless, the GM then resumes the general world and history background lore exposition for a few more minutes, and we just kind of let him have at it. But listening to it, it's really obvious that this is not going to have any impact on this one-shot session. This is mostly past events far from each other, involving many factions, resulting in kingdoms at war since long ago. It does explain the besieged city that we start in, but while answering a player question, GM states that, you will not be there to change or stop the siege. Okay, then what are we here for? As GM finally speaks about us, the player characters, I ask them if we should create some characters, and the GM answers that we'll just choose from some pre-generated ones, which that's fine to me in a one-shot, you know? I was a bit worried that extended cinematic long intro, in addition to character creation, would have taken up half of the session length. Oh, don't you worry, OP, there's gonna be plenty of time left for filibustering. So there are 4 merchant player sheets with names and specialty shops to choose for us 4 players. No info, no stats, nothing more than their names and their specialty shop. Seems fine. Looks to me like we'll have plenty of agency to make them our own. This could be cool. Man, hope floats, doesn't it? So I picked the jeweler merchant that also sells clockwork. I remember another player picking a weapons seller, spears, parade shields, swords, that type of thing. The other 2 merchants' details don't really have an impact on the story, so we'll skip it. We learn that we either don't have anything left to sell due to the siege, or no clients. And we also don't have money. Oh, and also we are starving. Our characters turn to the black market for the last few months, which still probably doesn't help with not having anything to sell, right? The initial situation is us hidden in a sea cave, speaking with smugglers. They've been paid by someone overseas to deliver a small parcel, some long wooden box sealed about the size of a hand, to an aristocrat of the city. But they cannot leave their boat because reasons, and they will share half of the reward with us if we finish the delivery. Smells like framing or a trap, but we're poor, hungry, desperate merchants, not paranoid adventurers. So hell yeah, we're in. Our character said yes, and the one-shot starts at this point. At least in theory. We immediately get a very long GM description all about the smuggler's boat. Oh, great. I'm so excited. Then a long description about the sea cave that we're in. A long description about the enemy armada that surrounds and besieges our city. A long description about the damaged districts that our shops are located in. A long description of how the life is miserable here since the siege started. Then we get a long description of a particular shop near ours, but of course there was no description of the players' shops. Yeah, because the GM's just like, whatever. You didn't pay me to write that part. It's your character, you make it up. So yeah, clearly this game master has trouble with the concept of giving the players the spotlight. Through their descriptions, they have apparently made us leave the cave and get back to our district without asking us or letting us have any agency. At least not quite yet. 50 minutes in, and no player has had an opportunity to make their character do anything yet. Y'all are just sitting here for this? An hour of my life I'll never get back? We've talked about audiobook GMs before. It's something that really grinds my gears. But this is so next level. 50 minutes! The session's a third over now. So at this point, OP interrupts again, asking what we know exactly about the item that we're carrying, and the aristocrat individual that we need to deliver it to. At this point, we didn't even get that NPC's name quite yet. The GM shares with us the name of the aristocrat finally. Let's call him Sir Aristo. And then GM stops there. No more info. Finally, a silence for the players to fill. So I start discussing out of character with the other players, proposing that we should go straight to the home of this aristocrat as a solid first step, without separating the group preferably, to make sure that every player can get a part in it. At this point, the GM stops me, saying that, you guys can't go to the aristocrat's house. Apparently our player characters had never heard about this aristocrat's name and don't know where he lives because we're not part of the aristocratic world ourselves. Cool, great, complete dead end. Are we having fun yet? I argue that as a jewelry and clockwork seller, I've probably at least heard about them, and maybe they're even part of my clientele, or at least through servants working as intermediaries. GM seems okay on principle with this statement, generally for the aristocratic population, but insists that I have at best an idea of what Sir Aristo looks like from rumors, but nothing else. None of us knows where Sir Aristo lives. Okay, noted, I guess. As Game Master previously took a long time describing a specific shop near ours, the group decides to go there and asks if they know any more about where Sir Aristo might live. GM tells us, the shop's closed. Nobody's there to answer. Bro, then why did you paint it in such detail? They explain that we met the smugglers in the middle of the night and that the streets are empty, except for soldiers enforcing a curfew at night. Bro, I understand you're new to GMing, but did you not mention this? Let's streamline this whole thing a little bit. So at this point, the group then decides to just go to sleep until the morning because they're obviously feeling quite stuck and not wanting to get grabbed by the soldiers. But the GM explains that, you can't do that either. Is this just like a really deep troll? Are you being messed with on like many levels? I can't believe it. GM elucidates that you have to stay awake if you want to honor the deal with the smugglers. Why? Because we need to deliver the wooden box to Sir Aristo, and then get something back from him and bring it back to the smugglers to get the reward, and all that before the middle of the morning when the smugglers will leave. Okay, well, that does change a lot of things, but we still don't know where to go, and everything is closed, and the streets are deserted and under a curfew. The group still decides to wait until the sun rises, but Game Master apparently doesn't want us to time jump to the sun rising, and he wants us to role play out the wait. This is so awkward. At this point, half of the game time is already consumed and nothing has happened. The weapons merchant, played by someone that's usually a bit of a murder hobo, at least in their own sessions, proposes that we open the wooden box to get an eye on what might be inside. And this makes sense. We're waiting with nothing to do, nobody to talk to, and God, nothing is happening anyways. The only thing of interest is this box. But of course, the GM tells us that we cannot, because the seal would be broken, and the deal is to bring it unopened. And secondly, because they say our characters find out that we physically cannot open the box. Bro, I'm so done. I understand it's a one-shot. You only got an hour and a half left, but I would rather do anything else with that 90 minutes, okay? Pain! We are intrigued by this statement. I say that my merchant has an eye on the wooden box with their expert eye in jewelry and clockwork. So the GM throws me a bone. He tells me what type of wood it is, and then he gives a long, a long description of the craftsmanship of the box and the probable source of that oh so rare wood, which apparently tells us nothing useful about the item because, again, reasons. I say that I inspect it further, shaking it, looking at it closely, investigating the mechanism, the seam, etc., to see how it could theoretically be opened, with no intention of opening it, of course. The GM then tells us, you get no info out of it. There's no seam. It's just one piece of wood with no default. Nothing moves inside if it's shaken. Bro, you really are just giving them nothing. What is the point of this? It's gotta be a troll, dude. Okay. So, is this even a box then? How do we know that this hunk of wood is a box? I mentioned the tools for delicate work that I have at my shop, but apparently they are also not of any help. We again ask the GM if we can just please skip to the sun rising. And this time, for some reason, he's totally okay with it. Holy God. He's so out of his depth, dude. So we go to the previously very long, detailed shop that is now open to ask for directions. But we learn absolutely nothing out of the shopkeeper. Like us, they don't know anything. For some reason, they are even annoyed at our presence in their shop. I'll buy that for a shopkeep, you know, buy something or leave. The group then decides to go to the first tavern we can find to ask for some directions. But the game master says, the tavern's closed. It only opens later in the morning. We then argue for a while with the game master. The group says, okay, then we'll wait for the tavern to open. Or we go to whichever tavern opens first, or to anywhere else that we could possibly get info from. If needed, we even try every person on the street and every sort of shop or whatever until something works. GM finally let us have an open tavern, but an empty one that wasn't serving any customers. It really does get funnier the longer it goes on. Would this not drive you up a wall? We get a long description of this completely empty tavern. We get a long description of the tavern owner and their history in the city. We ask him for directions. The tavern owner is clearly annoyed at us being there while they try to open up their tavern. He wants us to come back later or at least pay for a drink or something before asking anything, so we do that. But then we need to wait for him to finish opening the tavern. Okay, then we'll wait. We get a description of how it happens. Then we order drinks. But there's almost nothing left to drink due to the siege, so apparently the drinks are terrible and not worth the money. Damn. But hey, at least you got a glimmer of agency as you purchase your own drinks. Round of applause. That's amazing. Then we're finally asking for the directions that we need, and we get none. The tavern owner just gives us no valuable information. They just don't know nothing, not even a general direction. Oh my God. What a train wreck. At this point, there is less than 1 hour left before 11 o'clock, so we forcefully pause the game and ask the GM if they're okay. We asked the GM if we had progressed well, because we had the feeling that we were now completely and utterly stuck, and that we need their help to guide us to wherever we need to be at to get to the fun parts. GM explains that they weren't expecting us to go to a tavern at all, but that we are on schedule. I don't believe you. That they have trouble because they're new to GMing and they get a little nervous, but that things are fine. It's clear that all players are now annoyed and really want something interesting to happen. Well, how's it feel to want, OP? This GM is wanting for a lot. And I can have sympathy with that, you know? You're a new GM, I get it. Maybe you got a little motor mouth when you're nervous or something. But take constructive criticism. Don't lie to me and say that we're on schedule when we are clearly not. You didn't expect a group of adventurers to go into a tavern? Or merchants, I guess? Well, yeah, new GM, make a note of that. Basically everything happens in a tavern. At this point, OP says the following with sympathy to the GM. Can you please just put us on a path or even bring us to the right place directly? Let's skip the rest of the walk if we can. I don't know about the others, but I feel like we have wandered enough, and we are now ready to go to the delivery scene with Sir Aristo. To which GM says, okay, your characters know that all aristocrats live in the higher part of the city. GM adds that it's a plot point, that we don't know exactly which house it is from the start though, because it's a big city, and we couldn't possibly know everybody's house. Okay, annoying. They don't want to jump to the interesting part directly, but at least they did give us our first lead, I guess. Do you think that this GM is like way over-prepared or super under-prepared? Because I'm kind of torn. I lean towards over-prepared, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least if he has no idea what the final fight scene is going to be. So again, OP makes a proposal, which is the following. You agreed that I have aristocrat clients through their servants. Can I please quickly visit one of said client's servants to get an address for this delivery? GM agrees. We walk to the higher district to get 3 long descriptions. The beautiful high walls around this aristocratic district, the beautifully armored guards guarding all the doors in the wall that apparently have the martial ability to transform us into a red paste if they wanted, and finally the beautiful aristocratic district architecture style. Bro, we got 20 minutes left. Can we wrap this up? Finally, I go to the door of my aristocratic client to ask for the servant that I had a previous transaction with. But no, they're not there. And the person speaking to me does not trust me enough to speak with me. The servant I'm looking for simply isn't there, and they refuse to tell me where to find them. On top of that, nobody wants to give me the goddamn address of Sir Aristo either. I'm telling you, dude, deep troll. It has to be. How could it be anything but? And at this point, OP says, I just don't know anymore. The group doesn't know either what to do anymore. We are just annoyed. Nothing that we proposed managed to make this plot progress. Is this some sort of special hell that we're in that just has no agency and no point? It's purgatory for tabletop gamers. One of us asks to go up to the guards at the city doors, but they don't want to speak to common people about the aristocrats' whereabouts. One of us says their character wants to start asking just everybody and anybody in the street. Another says they'll just start trying every door until we find the right manner. Still starting to get chaotic. We do want to stir it up at this point. We got something like 15 minutes of this session left before 11 o'clock, and I'm guessing it'll probably take at least 30 plus minutes to wrap it up, or an hour, but I won't accept an hour extension, and I decide that I'm leaving at 11:30, whatever happens. This game is far too unfun. I'm surprised you gave it the whole time, honestly, OP. Round of applause for you. Patience of a saint right here. So finally, the GM sees everybody start acting all chaotic, and the GM suddenly tells me that I meet with the servant that I was searching for. Yes! Freaking finally! Something! The servant is described as very annoyed to see me, like everybody else. No crap. Reluctantly, the servant agrees to give me the freaking address finally, but not easily. It took some solid roleplay persuasion from my end for whatever reason. Because immersion, OP, aren't you feeling immersed? We got the address. We got the address. We can finally start the fetch quest. Oh, it hurts. It only took almost 3 hours of intense nothing happening. How? How had we not left the table already? Hindsight is 2020, but man. We finally go to this address. We're finally facing the closed door of the manor of Sir Aristo to deliver the wooden box that cannot be opened nor even inspected. Subservient opens to us, but of course doesn't want to let us inside because we weren't expected. We don't have a rendezvous. As players, we are annoyed. One of us proposes that we just throw the wooden box over the shoulder of the servant in the manor through the semi-open door and call it a day. We argue with this a-hole servant and convince them to let 2 of us meet the master, Sir Aristo, because all 4 will probably be too much for him. I feel like the party would just agree to anything at this point to keep the plot moving in a direction that they are actually involved in. We then have a long description of the manor interior, then a long description of the master's office. Then we have a long description of the master. He is handsome, elegant, has nice clothes, and he looks really upset. Of course, he is another complete a-hole. Maybe it's something in the water. He apparently radiates a main character aura and some big peepee energy. He says he's annoyed to have to speak to us. I guess we also are annoyed very much. He takes the wooden box while acting like a Karen about the fact that we were so slow at delivering it. He takes it, takes something out from the inside of it, replaces it with something else, and closes the box. He then says that whatever is now inside is more important than our lives, but he refuses to elaborate. He refuses to explain what or why or how or anything at all. Refuses to explain what he took out of the box either. This is so dumb. I'm not even curious. I just want to go home. I want it to be over. We tell the game master that at least we should have seen what he took out or what he put in. Maybe how to open or close the box, right? Visual cues? Anything? Solid no. Apparently Sir Aristo turned his back to us, and we know that we saw nothing because, well, he was just too fast, and we were far too dumb to understand what had happened. Yes, the complex mechanics of a box. Then the party gets kicked out of the manor because our presence is now just completely insufferable for Sir Aristo, with, again, the wooden box in our hands. It is almost 11, like 10:55. Okay, we did it. It was goddamn awful and unfun and full of jerks and meaningless encounters, and we got no satisfaction whatsoever out of it. But at least there would be no extended time, I thought to myself. No need to narrate the annoying backtracking going back to the smugglers, right? But Game Master still narrates and describes. The second we step foot outside, the whole district is locked up. Guards are plenty, buzzing and lining everybody up. They apparently are searching for something with intensity. All right, 5 minutes left. Drop a nuke on the whole thing. Thanks for playing, everybody. So, of course, it is completely clear that these guards are searching for whatever MacGuffin is hidden inside the wooden box. I then go to a guard to ask for what they're searching for, while asking in a suspect manner on purpose. I have the box in my pocket, mind you. Yes, I am entering my own a-hole mode to at least get some fun out of this ordeal. I wanted some agency, even if it was to get the frickin' box lost to the guards and myself decapitated. Just let me have something. Yes, shuffle off your mortal coil. The sweet embrace. It's the only thing I have control over at this point. Oh my God, there's a sick desperation in my laugh. Guess what? The guard is annoyed at me and refuses to speak with me. Doesn't want to look in my pockets, just wants me to go away and leave him alone. He tells me to go to the main gate if I want to leave the district, but that I will be searched there. Tempting. But one of us proposes that we just leave the box on the ground and go back to our miserable, hungry lives. Another proposes that we yeet it above the wall. It's small and light. And of course, the GM says, no. I'm gonna do it anyways. How about that? And suddenly it is 10:59. GM says, we're gonna stop now because it's almost 11. They ask us if we're available the same time next week. Oh, wait, you're serious? Short, general silence. I'm asking if we could wrap this up in like 10 minutes, because this was only supposed to be one session, and it looks like we're finished pretty soon anyways. I could personally only stretch it another 30 minutes max. Game Master immediately gets very anxious. No. And then they suddenly speak very fast. Very fast. They stress the fact that they need to stop at 11 exactly. They need another session to make us get through everything. And then when 11 o'clock comes, they abruptly disconnect. Mid-discussion with a, sorry, I have to leave now. Like they were on a self-imposed parental control set at 11 o'clock. Or maybe they transformed into a pumpkin? It was just so weird. He is a weird guy. Maybe he does live with his parents. Is he super young? OP said at the beginning they're like 20s and 30s, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that he doesn't live with his parents. Again, if that's the case, just be real. You don't have to be all vague and lie about everything. Whatever. I probably wasn't gonna ever interact with this guy again anyways. It just would have been nice if you could be honest with me and yourself, all right? So in the Discord chat, the group said no to any other sessions. Thank God for that. I took 10 minutes the next day to provide feedback to try and help them grow as a new game master. Not for me, not for them, but for their potential next table of players. To maybe suffer a bit less than we had this time around. You're the true MVP, OP. I have no idea how you got through that whole thing. I insisted on the importance of agency and collaboration with players and of shutting your GM mouth regularly to let the players, I don't know, speak and do things, and to accept them and rebound on them, feedback to which they never answered. And that was my last interaction with them ever. I think the most frustrating part about this post is it doesn't really have an end as such. You know, you never find out what the hell the GM was trying to get across to the players this entire time. Lack of communication, it can really hurt. Obviously, this GM, yeah, he's new, but he's also not willing to improve. Or maybe he was too ashamed to reply to the feedback that OP gave him. But yeah, the first time doing anything is generally not gonna be too great, right? This railroading GM could practice his craft and really do some great world building, I'm sure. But instead, I think he chose to just get butt mad and disappear from the internet. Well, I'm never gonna GM any game ever again. Like, yeah, that's the way to fix your problem. Just never address it. Whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed the story in some form of fashion. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all them things. Share the video around. Check out my links in the description. Many social medias. I'm really plugging that TikTok lately. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so I could stream on there at the same time as I stream on Twitch. Seems like the big brain play to me. Thank you also to my beautiful, wonderful Patreon patrons and YouTube channel members, helping to keep me afloat every single month. I hope y'all will come back and join me again tomorrow for another story, you know? Keep yourself safe out there, wash your hands, and of course, always remember that you are loved, you are worthy, friends, and you definitely deserve it. I shall see you in the next one, and until then, bye-bye.